Hey everybody, it's Mr. Dauval, and I'm making a short video here to talk to you about English 4 and what we're doing in class. Okay, so I'm going to go over a couple of things. I hope that you have been on Summit and you've seen the announcements there and things that I've been uploading. You might not have at home a book, but there are a few online versions for free, and in Summit you will see a study guide, which is checkpoint 2. And you can access that, do it in the computer, print it if you want, whatever you want to do. I made copies for you guys in class for when you come back. You may have hopefully your schedule with you at home so that you can check what are we doing from December 6th to December 10th. Okay. Some of you are going to see this over the weekend or next week, but this is what was supposed to be accomplished by December 10th. Okay. So if you look at the Summit page, I'll pull that up now. Wait, which one? I think it's this one. In Summit in your class, English 4, you will see in announcements that I put one there that says class goals 12/6 to 12/10, English 4, term 2, yes, Philly. Checkpoint 1, it says describing the cask of Amontillado story through one of the 4 critical lenses should be done. Right? This information here, Marxist theory, gender studies, ethnic studies, psychoanalytical theory. Okay, I talked about these in class, and there's this PowerPoint where this came from is available in the Summit page. Okay, right, but basically you're just like describing how do we understand the story through one of these ideas. I think the Marxist, because it talks about class, or the psychoanalytical with this story is the easiest way to go. Okay. You should be doing daily oral language. I've got 2 sentences for you to correct that I'm going to show you in just a moment. Daily oral language is where you read something that has mistakes, you look for the mistakes, and you fix it. It's just editing practice. Then you should be reading Their Eyes Were Watching God. Okay. The audiobook is available for free on YouTube, or you might have the ebook, or you might have borrowed a book. But we should have done chapters 1 through 4, Monday and Tuesday, and chapters 5 through 6, Thursday and Friday. Okay. And also worked on the study guide, which is available in Summit for you. Okay. Obviously, I understand some of you are going to need to get caught up on this, but if you could at least be reading, staying up on that, you will not be behind when you come back. In Summit are links to the audiobook here, where it says YouTube, and the e-text I've got highlighted here in blue. I need to double check this because earlier it wasn't working for me. But if that link isn't working, don't worry about that. You can, if you just Google Their Eyes Were Watching God ebook text for free, you'll find something. And if you don't worry about it. Just listen to it. So I'm going to go to my PowerPoint here, show you a few things. Right, here's our goals. Oops. I was just talking about them. We're going to be getting to checkpoint 2 this next week, so I may not talk about that here. Okay, daily oral language. These are the directions. When I go over daily oral language, this is a part where you may want to pause, write down the sentence, and then continue with the video. Decide what needs to be grammatically correct. Write out your corrected text on a separate sheet with grammar, spelling, and punctuation corrected. So here's sentence A for Monday and Tuesday. How much further do we have to hike, Penny asked, before we can set down to rest, or are we nearing the lodge? At this point, you might want to pause, write it down, and see what you can come up with. I'm going to give you just some suggestions. Definitely you want to look at capitalization. You need to capitalize. There's some punctuation missing at the end of the sentence. There's some commas. It sounds like somebody's talking here. It says Penny asked. So you're going to need quotes. So put those in correctly. When it says like have words in quotes and then comma, capital, Penny asked, comma, quote before, and continue with that quote. Okay? You figure it out. Sentence B. Again, after I read this, you're going to want to pause. Think about what do you think needs to be done and write down your answer. Of all the finalists, Wade is more active and competing in 3 divisions solo and group ensemble and full orchestra. Obviously, there's a spelling error there. Look at it, capitalization. So pause, write it down, continue. Think about capitalization, names. There's some commas missing here. You might need to reword some things. Spell out numbers if they're not being used for dates or money or math. In this case, we don't need to have the number 3. Write it out. Okay? So continue. I'm going to talk about their eyes were watching God, and I'm going to refer to the study guide here, and I'll pull this up in just a moment. Okay? Chapters 1 through 4 and the study guide, chapters 5 through 6 and the study guide. I'm going to do a discussion for you of what's going on so you can fill in some of this information. Please use the e-text, the ebook, and the audiobook to help you get through this. Okay? If you have your phone handy, you can pull it up, listen to it while you wash the dishes, change the baby, whatever it is you're doing at home. It's like it can be very enjoyable to listen to audiobooks when you're going to bed. Just don't fall asleep because you might, but you might want to put it on instead of watching that late night show, whatever it is. Just listen to it. Why not? Stay caught up. Okay. This is a great story. Give it a chance. You will like it. So pull up the reading guide here. Okay. So their eyes were watching God. Short answer study guide questions. Okay. Number 1, from chapters 1 through 4. Who's the main character? The main character's name is Janie. She goes through a lot in this story. Okay. And you will get to know her well. Her name shifts, her last name shifts a little bit because she gets married, but you'll see the main name you need to know is Janie. Okay. What is her situation at the beginning of the novel? Number 2. Her situation is that she's returning to town. She's been gone from town for a while, and something has happened. We don't know what. You will find out. And she's come back, and she's going to tell her friend the story of what happened to her. Okay. As I'm going through these questions, feel free to pause, write down something that I said, then go back. Okay. Or just listen and write as I go. It's up to you. Or don't write anything and just go over it in class. But I'm not going to go over this part again with you if I'm doing this. I will just say, go watch the video. Okay. Number 3, what is Janie's most noticeable physical characteristics? In the book, it talks about her long, beautiful, dark hair, which makes her stand out for many women in the town. Not very many women in the town where she lives will wear their hair down. They will mostly wear it up or put something like a do-rag over it, and they don't show their hair. She's also described as being very curvy with like cantaloupe-sized hips and like breasts that stick out straight. It doesn't really matter that much, but it makes her seem dignified. She's like this powerful presence. Number 4, who is Janie's best friend? Janie's best friend is named Phoebe, and that is spelled P-H-E-O-B-Y. Phoebe. P-H-E-O-B-Y. Looks like Phoebe. And Janie's going to tell her friend Phoebe the story. Number 5. After chapter 1, how is the story told? If you're following in the text, or if you're listening, you will notice that at the end of chapter 1, there's a shift in the point of view. And it goes from, like, first she's saying in chapter 1, it's hard for me to understand what, or this is Phoebe, it's hard for me to understand what you mean the way you tell it. And then again, hard to understand it at times. No, it ain't nothing like you think. And it's all first person. Okay. Everything is first person. And then as it shifts into chapter 2, now it's third person because it's Janie is telling the story. So it says in third person, Janie saw her life like a great tree in life, with things suffered, things enjoyed, things done, and undone. There's many, many beautiful lines in this book. That's just one of them. Chapter 6, or sorry, number 6. Why did Janie marry Logan Killix? Okay, Logan Killix is somebody that is associated with Janie's grandmother. And through chapter 2, you find out that Janie's grandmother is a freed slave. She was a slave as a child. She grew up a slave. The slavery is abolished, and now she's a hardworking older woman, and she raises Janie. And there's a backstory as to where Janie's mother is. Janie's mother, who was born in slavery and was freed, had some trouble with some men and got pregnant and then ran off. So Janie's grandmother raises her. Janie's grandmother is determined to find her a stable situation before she dies, and she feels like she finds it in this man, Logan Killix, and she tells Janie to marry him. It's a little bit intense because and when Janie is young, she's just like any other girl. She's got, or I don't know, not like any other girl, but she's got these ideas about love and romantic love. And she's got a crush on a boy, and her grandmother sees her kissing this boy by the gate at the fence. And she pulls Janie into the room and slaps her and says, "What are you messing around with that boy for?" Implying if you start dating people now, you might get pregnant in the same way that your mother got pregnant when she was young. And she says, "You're going to get married now. No more fooling around." And the grandmother hooks her up with Logan Killix. This is how this happens. Number 7, I kind of just covered this. What was Janie's idea of love before she was married? Janie is like, she's kind of depicted thinking about it here in the cover of this book. This version has a nice picture of the author, by the way. I can show you when you come in. But she's got this romantic idea that love will make her happy. And throughout the entire book, she's looking for that. It shifts, it changes. She wants to find true love. She wants to find happiness. Number 8, what happened to Nanny shortly after Janie was married? Shortly after Nanny or the grandmother, or sorry, shortly after Janie was married, Nanny or the grandmother dies. So she gets her wish, she marries off Janie, and then she passes away. Proud of herself. There is like an interaction that happens before she dies where Janie admits to her nanny, she says, "I don't love him. He's funny looking, his head is fat, his feet smell. I'm not attracted to him," and she's very upset about this. And the nanny tells her to just deal with it. At least he's a solid man. He's got a house. He can pay for food. He's not beating her. Number 9. How did Janie's and Logan's relationship change? Simply things soured. That between Janie and Logan, like he's like sweet to her and sings to her, and then he just stops. And he's like, "Chop the wood for me, make the food for me." Janie's like, you chop the wood yourself. It becomes very confrontational. And she doesn't like him. She doesn't want to sleep next to him. She thinks he's gross. He starts criticizing her, and she's ready to give up. Um, Number 10. What did Janie discover about love? This is I bookmarked this. This is talked about page 25, that she decides that after being with Logan Killix for a while, says she knew now that marriage did not make love. Janie's first dream was dead, so she became a woman. She goes into this thinking that love, that like love is marriage, isn't it? You find love in marriage. If you get married, you'll be in love, or you only get married if you're in love. And she discovers she doesn't have that at all. So she's very disillusioned about this. That's why it says her dream is dead. Number 11, describe Joe Starks. Joe Starks comes along and he offers Janie an opportunity to leave town with him. He's going to the first black-owned town in Florida where they're at, and he wants to invite this beautiful woman, Janie, to come along. Joe is strong. He's described as having a big belly that sticks straight out, confident. He's sweet. Okay. He's a natural leader, very confident, everything that Janie is looking for and is not finding in Logan Killix. And number 12, what did Janie do shortly after she met Joe Starks? She leaves Logan. She's one night, late at night, she's up with Logan Killix, and she says, what would you do if I left you? And he doesn't really say anything. He says, oh, fine, go on. Nobody would want you anyway, even though he really does feel bad about it. All right, so that's chapters 1 through 4. Go back and fill as much of that in as you need to. Now I'm going to take a look at chapters 5 and 6. So, number 1, who was Joe looking for when he and Janie got to town? Now, just a little background. This is part of the important the biographical part of the story. Zora Neale Hurston, the author, was born in Eatonville, the first black-owned town in the United States, which is in Florida. It may be called something else now, but when she was born there, it was called Eatonville. So she places part of the story there. Joe, a free man, is on his way. You good? Is on his way to Eatonville, and he wants Janie to come along. So they get there, and there's not much there. There's no roads. There's a few settlements. There's really not much. It's almost like some shacks in the woods almost, or with fields. There's really not much there. And he is looking for the mayor. He meets a couple of guys that are making small talk with him, and he's like, where's the mayor of the town? There's got to be a mayor, isn't there? And he asks them, number 2, what are the names? What is the name of this town? And they tell him, well, it's West Maitland, Maitland, or Eatonville, Eatonville, West Maitland or Eatonville. And the two men explain that a general from the Confederate Army named Captain Eaton donated the town to the African American people after slavery was abolished. So that's how that connection is made. And then they said that Captain Eaton lives in West Maitland, or lives in another place just called Maitland by itself. So it's either or. They decided to just go with Eatonville. Number 3, what actions did Joe take when he got to town? Joe takes control very quickly. He sees that leadership is needed, and he jumps into action. Okay, right away he says, let's get some lumber. Let's start building stuff. Let's get everybody in the town to volunteer. We'll make roads. It's described on page 40. We're going to build a store. This is the most important part of this town. A store is a meeting place. Everybody, it's kind of almost like the corner store, but it is the only place to buy anything, any food, any supplies. They order it, it comes in the store, people pick it up, take it to their homes. Okay. So he builds this store. Um, he orders they're going to ask him to become mayor because of all his work. And he graciously accepts. He orders a street lamp, which is the first street lamp in an African American town in the United States. So this feels like a big deal. And there's this beautiful moment in the story where they're singing about the light and these gospel songs, and everybody feels great. Joe feels like he's doing this fantastic thing for everyone, and Janie is delighted that she gets to share this with her new husband, Joe. Number 4, how did Joe want Janie to look and act? It becomes very clear as soon as they get to the town that Joe is not okay with Janie mixing with the poor black folks in the town. He does not want her talking to them. He does not want her hanging out with them. He does not want her looking like them. So he tells her that he wants her to be like a bell cow, this beautiful thing amongst the common people. And he says that she's the wife of the mayor. She better look the part. So it's very political minded. Number 5, what was the result of Joe's suggestion that the town incorporate and elect a mayor? They immediately elected him. And incorporate means make the town a real town. Oh, I forgot to mention, real town also comes with a post office. He builds a post office along with the store, which is a big deal for them. They're like, have you ever seen a colored person in a post office? No one has ever experienced this before. Um, Number 6, what was Janie's reaction when Joe said she couldn't make a speech? At I believe it was the scene where they're installing the street lamp. They asked Janie, they said, we would like to hear a few words from your beautiful wife, Mr. Mayor. And Joe jumps in and he says, oh, sorry, she's not allowed. She doesn't have any words. I'll speak for her. Janie is not too happy about this. She does not like being silenced by her husband. It was okay that she heard this guy pulls her away from boring Logan Killix, but she is starting to not like how controlling he is, and this is going to shift things in their relationship later. So she's feeling a little cold to him later that evening. Number 7, already talked about which of Joe's innovations was the first in a colored town, and that was the street lamp. You can imagine the grandeur and the delight of people to have something like a street lamp. Number 8, how did Joe's position affect Janie's relationship with the other town residents? Basically, that she couldn't get close to them. They felt jealous of her. She felt jealous of them. It's a confusing situation because she wanted to be like them. She talks about being at the store and listening to them talk and laughing and wanting to get involved. Joe is allowed to get involved in the conversations, but not Janie. She wants to wear her hair down and feel glamorous. Joe says, put your hair up because he notices that some of the men are looking at her and he doesn't want any of the men looking at her. He's a very jealous man. Number 9, what was the rock against which Janie was battered? This is one of those images. The author talks about that Janie is slammed against these rocks, and it's with frustration with the sales in the store. She's put in charge of managing the store, and she talks about how confusing it is, where like they would say have a price for say like a pound, $1 for a pound of flour, let's say. Maybe probably a lot less, probably more like a nickel. And like somebody would come in and be like, well, I only have 2 cents. What can I get for that? And then she'd have to do the math and calculate, and it was very complicated. She didn't like that. She's frustrated that she was very busy. Number 10, what did Joe do about the mule? There's this whole thread in chapter 6 about the mule, and there's this mule that this like old, like crotchety farmer has, and he is working this mule to death. And they joke that the mule cannot eat. The mule seems like it's dying. Like this guy can't take care of it. It's just like this constant joke about the mule or the ass. All right. And Janie's very concerned about this. Everybody's concerned. What's going to happen with the mule? Joe decides to do something kind, and he offers to buy the mule for $5 and just basically let it pasture till it dies, which is very, very generous. And Janie comments later that he's willing to free a mule, but he's not willing to free her. Number 11, what happened to Joe and Janie's relationship during the 7th year of their marriage? So they were together for a while, 7 years. He's criticizing her, they fight, she submits and starts keeping things to herself. And it's soon after this that he starts getting sick, and he's going to blame her for what's happening to him. Number 12, what was Janie's comment to the men during their conversation about Mrs. Tony? She says that God is surprised that men are intelligent when they behave and act as they do. And there's this part where Joe says something insulting about women chilling and chickens and cows. You have to take care of them. And that women are being compared to the animals that they farm. And that they're these unintelligent creatures. Janie does not like this. She says that she was having a conversation with God, and that God told her that men were lucky to be as smart as they behaved. So that's chapters 5 and 6. We will return to chapters 7 through 11 next week. Checkpoint 2 is close reading practice. And if you look in Summit, you will see that there's some quotes for you to choose from. You need to choose one and just write what you think it means. We will be getting to that next week as well. All right. So that wraps up my discussion here. Class goals for English 4, December 6th through December 10th. If you're behind on anything in the class, you can just look at the goals in Summit, watch this video again, write down whatever you want for the study guide, okay? You pull up, there we go. Okay, all right. Great job, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to having you in class soon. Bye.